Hello everyone, and welcome to SUNUP. I'm Lyndall Stout. It is wheat planting day here at the demo plots at the OSU Agronomy Farm. And joining us now is David Marburger, our Extension Small Grain Specialist. And David, give us an idea of what's going to take place out here today.
Yep, so what we're doing out here is, like you just mentioned, we're planting our demonstration plots. So one thing we do in our program is we do our wheat variety trials. So we examine different wheat varieties that come in from public as well as private institutions, and we plant those around the state and test those and make that data, especially our yield data, available for our producers. And what we're doing here today in our demonstration plot is actually planting every variety that we have here. So we have 62 different wheat varieties in the variety trials this year, and we're going to plant these in a strip right here. We do two different things. We have a late plant or an early planting, which you see in the background, as well as a later planting, which is what we're going to do here today. And we use it for what we kind of said, their demonstration. It's really more of a way for people to see the different varieties, and then also to use it as a different teaching tool. So we'll have some of our plant and soil science classes come out here and maybe look at different things that might be going on in some of these different plots.
It's always an exciting time wheat planting, no matter what's going on. You mentioned there are demonstration plots here and then variety trials around the state. Tell us how that's set up and why it's important to get the data that you then turn around and share with producers.
Yep. So we have 21 different sites across the state, and we will take, like I mentioned, those varieties that come in, and we will test some of those varieties at those different parts throughout the state, and we use replicated, scientifically based replicated data that we will take those plots to yield and then make that data available for those producers. So for the next year, when they're looking at their different seed choices, they can take that data and help make a better variety selection for something that will work hopefully the best on their farm.
And of course, we love to have you come on SUNUP and talk about it. In general, give us an idea of how wheat planting is going around Oklahoma right now for growers.
Well, actually right now we had our latest USDA report came out on Monday, and we're tracking pretty close to our 5-year average. The USDA is estimating we're about 83% with our acres planted. That's just a couple points below normal, and then we have about 64% of our acres where the wheat has actually emerged, and that's a couple percentage points actually above that 5-year average. So in general, we're making a lot of good progress here. Earlier on here in October, we had great soil moisture conditions in a lot of places, and unfortunately right now, as we're kind of getting on the back end of planting here, it has been a lot drier, and it looks like it's going to continue to be dry for quite a while. So hopefully we can catch some rainfalls here and really give us some good conditions to help get that wheat established.
And of course that Oklahoma wind, comes around every so often too, as we know.
Of course.
Okay, David, we'll let you get started, and thanks a lot for this great information.
All right, thank you.
In late autumn, we very often, of course, is when we bring the cattle up and wean the calves. And it's also a time when we decide which cows are going to go onto the cull truck and be sent to town as culls. Before we market our cull cows this year, I think it's important that we understand the USDA grades and how they affect pricing, as well as dressing percent. That particular item that occurs within each of the USDA grades that really this year is the big price driver for cull cows. The USDA basically grades cull cows in 4 different classifications. The very fattest cows, those that we would put in that body condition score 7, 8, or 9, are called breakers. The next level is the cows that are in the high 5 to through the 6 body condition score category. Then these are often listed as boners or boning utility. Then we get into the thinner cows, and the USDA would call those that are a body condition score low 5 on down as in the lean category. And then if they're really small, lightweight cows that are also quite thin, then they will be listed as lights. And so you got those 4 grades: breakers, boners, leans, and lights. Most years there's a price differential between the leans and the boners. This year, as we look at the market news reports, there's very little price differential based on grade. But as you look within each one of those grades, there will be quite a difference in price for those cows that they listed as low dressing percent compared to average dressing percent and high dressing percent. For instance, just this last week, there was about a $10 per hundredweight difference between high dressing cows and low dressing cows. And there's still $5 to $7 a hundredweight difference between average dressing and low dressing percent. Well, what do they mean by dressing percent? Well, that is just basically the mathematical calculation of the carcass weight over the live weight. So anything that's going to increase live weight but does not increase the hanging carcass weight will decrease dressing percent. Such things as cows that are very muddy, cows that carry a lot of leather, have a large udder. All of these things will increase live weight but not increase carcass weight. And of course the biggest one is gut fill. That cows that go through the sale ring that look very, very full will be discounted and called low dressing percent. As I've tried to do the calculation over a number of years, I've never been able to understand a chance where we can put enough fill into a cow to have her weigh enough more to make up for the discount that she's going to receive if she goes into that low dressing percent category as the cattle buyers are observing her. So I think there's no real advantage in trying to really tank up the cull cows that we send to town and have them looking full as they go through the sale ring. Understanding these price differentials between the grades and the dressing percent is pretty important as we're marketing cows this fall or anytime. Hey, we look forward to visiting with you again next week on SUNUP's Cow-Calf Corner.
It's planting season in the northern hemisphere, which means it's harvest season in the southern hemisphere for wheat. Kim, let's talk about southern wheat.
Well, you're looking at the harvest starting in Australia now and their northernmost points. It'll be starting in Argentina relatively soon. And of course, there's South Africa that'll be cutting wheat in the near future.
Now, there's some news coming out of those countries too. The weather may not be cooperating with them.
I'll tell you what, when it starts in one place in the world, it just tends to continue on. Areas of Argentina, you know, they planted significantly more acres this year. They came in, they top dressed to produce quality product, a good milling wheat. They're getting too much rain. And that's reducing the quality and the quantity to a certain degree. You go down to Australia, parts of Australia's had frost problems, which has reduced the quality and the quantity, and other parts of Australia is having rain. We're going to have record crops, record production around the world, but we're going to have below average quality.
Now, when it comes to quality, is there any benefit to producing that better crop that you always preach?
Well, after you get it in the bin and the millers find out what the world's going to have to supply, then you get a protein premium. You look right now at 11% protein, it's 40 cents, and this is as of October 25. 11.4 protein, 57 cents. 12 protein up to 77 cents. At 12.8, you get $1.18 a bushel, and 0.2% more. At 13, you get $1.60.
That's nice. On top of the price of wheat right now.
That's correct. That's a premium.
Now talk about all of this news and what it means for the wheat that's in the ground right now.
Well, the problem we have is the wheat right now and the shortage of quality wheat as we're coming into the 17 harvest. It's important that we produce a quality product. Now, you know, there was wheat came in the 4-H and FFA wheat show, top dress. It's nitrogen on there for protein, over 15% protein. However, there was other wheat with that top dress around the state that got rained on. That protein was less, and the milling characteristics weren't as good. So you can put all those inputs in, but the weather is a big impact. But without the nitrogen there, you cannot get the quality.
Okay, thank you much, Kim. Kim Anderson, Grain Marketing Specialist here at Oklahoma State University. And now here's Eric DeVeest with some news on ARC payments.
USDA, FSA, announced the 2015 payments for Farm Bill for ARC County. And so ARC County is, as many of you will recall, is based on a county average revenue in reference to a benchmark revenue. The benchmark revenue is computed based on looking at an Olympic average of the previous 5 years' yields times the Olympic average of the previous 5 years' prices. And so if the current year revenue for that county falls below 86% of that benchmark revenue, then a payment is triggered for that county. We continue to have payments. That means that the actual revenue was low, and so as we go forward, that affects the benchmark in future years. So as we go forward into 17 and 18, these low years, these low revenue years, start entering into that Olympic average. We're replacing high price years from the early part of the cycle, 11, 12, and 13, and we have to start using prices from 14, 15, 16 in computing that benchmark price. And so what that means is that our safety net is getting smaller as we go forward into 17 and 18. We're looking at a benchmark price of $3.92 potentially for 2017. 14 and 15, our benchmark prices were $5.29. The benchmark revenue for 2015 was almost $260 an acre. Now in 2016, that's looking more like $269 an acre. And so what that means is our safety net has got quite a bit smaller. The benchmark price in 14 was $660, in 15 and 16 it was $670. We're looking at $592 for a benchmark price in 2017 based on the forecast price for 16. And so where Garfield County had a maximum benchmark of $214 in 2015, we're looking at about $180. And so the safety net is shrinking as we go forward. One resource available to producers is we have the IFMAPS program here at Oklahoma State University, which can help producers with financial planning. And we'll have that website available, that link off of the SUNUP website for them.
Hi, welcome to Shop Stop. Do you ever try to grease a piece of equipment and then your grease gun gets stuck on the zerk?
Well, we're going to show you a simple method of how you can properly install and remove the coupler from the greaser. And it sounds simple, but we've all been in that situation where it's gotten stuck on there and we've yanked and dang near put our eyes out, or have stretched the hose out 3 feet long trying to get the thing off of there. So we're going to show you real quick. And what you'll want to do is you'll want to rotate your coupler onto your nozzle like that. Now, we've deadheaded this and it's stuck. So Randy can't get that off there. Try pulling that straight up.
I could put Wayne's eye out with this, but I'm not going to.
So what he wants to do is he wants to take it off the way he put it on. So he's going to rotate it and see how that removes without having to stretch the grease nipple out or anything. So that's a quick way of how to install a coupler onto a grease fitting.
And now you know which grease zerks you need to start replacing. So you'll know right away once you start to see the grease coming around and it's not going in the zerk after you've got it properly installed, then maybe that's a zerk that needs to be replaced.
Yeah, if your coupler's straight and you're on there, it's either going to be that zerk more than likely that needs to be replaced when it's leaking like that. If it's not taking grease at all, we had shot a segment before about how to make these grease zerks run grease through them in an earlier segment. So you can look that one up on the website.
We'll see you next week on Shop Stop.
Hi, I'm Al Sutherland with your Mesonet weather report. Fall has decided not to cool down this year. We just keep chugging along with surprisingly warm temperatures. Tuesday afternoon, the highs in the Panhandle were in the upper 80s. Hooker and Eva hit 88 degrees. Westville and Cookson were the cool spots with afternoon highs of 76 degrees. Our warm afternoons have led to warming, not cooling, soil temperatures. The average soil temperature for Tuesday for bare soil at 4 inches ranged from a low of 63 at Boise City, Eva, and Miami to 73 at Hugo. Typically, in the last week in October, we would expect cooling soil temperatures. A 7-day graph of 4-inch bare soil temperature for Shawnee does show a drop in soil temperature on October 20th. 5 days later, the 4-inch bare soil temperature had cycled its way up to an afternoon high of 77 degrees. On Wednesday morning, the soil only cooled to 66 degrees. That's warm for late October, when we expect the leaves to be falling and the wind to bite a little with chilly temperatures. Here's Gary with a look at our drought designations in Oklahoma and a look at November.
Thanks, Alan. Good morning, everyone. Well, it should come as no shock to anybody who's been in Oklahoma for the last several months that drought continues to be a concern, and building drought is continuing across parts of the state. So let's take a look at that latest Drought Monitor map and see the bad news. Well, we still see that problem area down across the eastern, southeastern parts of the state. We have severe drought across parts of from central down into southeastern Oklahoma, moderate drought surrounding that area with abnormally dry conditions and even in an even larger area. But the new area of concern is now the Oklahoma Panhandle and the far northwest, where dry weather continues to cause problems, especially with ag producers. We have lots of reports of wheat not coming up, still needing to rain, wheat that's been dusted in. And let's take a look at the percent of normal rainfall from just the last 30 days. You can see across much of the state, including the Panhandle and northwestern Oklahoma, sometimes less than 60, less than 40, and even less than 20% of the normal rainfall over that 30-day period. So drastically dry conditions in those areas driving that drought intensification. Now, with the November outlooks from the Climate Prediction Center, we have good news and bad news. Now, the bad news is they both show for temperature and precipitation increased odds of above normal temperatures and below normal precipitation. That's not good. That's drought intensification recipe right there. Now, the good news is these aren't written in stone and they don't always come true. The odds are just increased in that favor. So what we need to worry about now, coming off one of the warmest and driest Octobers on record in the state of Oklahoma, would be wildfire concerns. Those day-to-day weather conditions will be important for wildfire safety. So that's something to keep in contact with your favorite weather source about. That's it for this time. We'll see you next time on the Mesonet Weather Report.
Today we're talking about natural ways to ensure your fresh produce is safe to eat with Divya Gironi, a food microbiologist here at the Food and Ag Products Center. And Divya, let's just kind of start about with a simple question. Should we be concerned about eating leafy greens?
Not so much concerned, but mostly, as you see, a lot of fresh produce like spinach and romaine, we just go get it from the store and, you know, open the box or container and just eat it without washing it. So a lot of times, especially when the fresh produce is damaged a little bit, you'll see a lot of damaged portions here. There's a good possibility that the microorganisms or a bad bacteria will go into it and can harm you. So not so much concerned all the time, but be careful in terms of eating fresh produce.
So when I'm at home and I want to wash my produce before I eat it, what are some of the treatments that I can use in washing these type of leafy greens?
So a lot of times in the industry, these types of produce, like the spinach that is bagged, already comes washed by the industry, but we've still seen outbreaks of E. coli in those spinach type that happened in 2006. So what I would suggest is when you bring it home, you can thoroughly wash it first in running tap water, and then after a while we have done some research in my lab where we have tested some essential oils and plant extracts like cinnamon essential oil, carvacrol, grapeseed extract, those kind of things, which really help in terms of reducing these pathogenic or bad bacteria populations.
And who can benefit from that research?
So basically we tried to do it for the farmers, growers, fresh produce growers who are actually harvesting on the farm and then taking the produce to like farmers market. So those kind of growers can definitely benefit. Also consumers at home can benefit from it, because if they want to be a little bit, want to make sure that their produce is safe, they can definitely wash it with these essential oils. And it doesn't take too much to wash. We just take like a drop or two in maybe about 100 ml of water, and you're good to go.
Just kind of run it through and then let it air dry, and then you're ready to eat your salad. Mm-hmm. Okay, Divya, thanks for your time today. We'll see you soon. Now to OSU Homecoming, which is today. And as we found out, Ag and Natural Resources students play some pretty big roles this year.
Homecoming here at Oklahoma State University, we kind of have the mantra of being known as America's greatest homecoming celebration. I've been to a couple other homecomings, and I have to say they just don't compare to what Oklahoma State University does. So being the executive director of homecoming, I've had the opportunity to connect with lots of alumni, but more so than that, it's kind of the leadership skills that I've learned. I've had to manage 9 other students who are in charge of their own specific events, as well as I've had to work with faculty here at the university, along with people that work at the Alumni Association, along with media here at the state, regional, and national level. So I've had to do all kinds of communication, working with moving parts. It's kind of a big balancing act, but it's something that I definitely think will give me a big boost in a career later on down the road, having to work with all kinds of different people and handling lots of challenges at a pretty fast-paced environment. Both my parents went to Oklahoma State University, and both of them were CASNR alumni. My dad was an ag econ major, my mom was an animal science major. I grew up on a farm, so I knew, I was going to have some kind of tie to agriculture. And getting involved in homecoming, I think CASNR does a really good job of kind of propelling their student organizations to be involved with it. All of Oklahoma State University does a really good job, but I think CASNR really shines, especially in that area. And so having the push from the college, as well as lots of students that have the same majors and have CASNR involvement, has really given me this kind of effort. Even though I'm from Freedom, Oklahoma, a very small town, you can do big things and be involved in a high leadership position here on this campus. No sleep. That's the biggest thing. I take a lot of naps, but I don't sleep a lot at night. No, but seriously, it just takes a lot of time management skills. I think, as a senior in college, you kind of learn just as you get older, what it takes and, where your priorities are. I think that's the biggest thing at the end of the day is everybody has time for what they want to do. And so if you choose your priorities, you're going to get done what you need to get done, and sometimes you're going to cut things away, like sleep. I think after halftime gets over and we pass all the awards and we go back up into the suite and we kind of have this last little powwow meeting and then we're released, I'm probably just going to sit and realize, this has been a big deal. This has been something great, and just kind of relax and go, hey, we're done. This was awesome. And it's been a good thing for us to do.
Finally today, as part of homecoming at OSU, we pause to remember those who lost their lives in the parade tragedy 1 year ago. Retired Regents professor and agricultural research pioneer Marvin Stone and his wife Bonnie were among the 4 who died. As you're about to hear, even though Marvin Stone may be gone, his life's work and his legacy live on.
The loss of Dr. Stone is something that we still deal with today. His name comes up in lectures and in talks, and he touched so many lives. It's even hard still a year later to talk about him without getting really emotional. So great, both him and Bonnie, greatly missed in this community. I don't know if anything that Dr. Stone had been working on that has been dropped. Everything is in a continuation. From the committees he was on, international committees is on to the work done here at OSU. The work he's done with the sensors, one of his last things he worked with us on is the production of small handheld green seeker sensor that really made a much more affordable product to put in the producer's hands. I've been currently working on a app so that we can take his sensor that he built, plug it into our phones and start downloading data and those things. And so, you know, all of the work he's done has not just come to an end. It's continuation, it's morphed, and it's really transitioned into even greater things.
To me, the biggest thing, you know, with Dr. Stone is he was rarely going to step up and ring his own bell. It was actually a colleague of mine that I'd worked with at K-State for many years. He's the one that said to me, he said, there's very few pieces of equipment sold in North America that don't have Marvin Stone's fingerprints on them.
All the goals that he always had was to better humanity, to better the world, and I think that's everybody's goals that worked with him. And what we have is we want to produce something that will better the lives of the people in the community, in the state, in the nation, in the world. So taking this stuff, making food cheaper, making food more sustainably and more efficiently.
Pretty much everything I'm working on was influenced by him in one way or another. But primarily I would just look at, you know, any piece of agricultural equipment basically that has electronics on it right now was influenced by his relationship with industry and the work that he did to establish that communication protocol. How does a planter talk to a tractor? You know, how does a combine engine talk to the rest of the combine? And that whole communication protocol that happens electronically now, all of that has Marvin Stone's fingerprints all over it.
That'll do it for us this week. Remember, you can find us anytime online at sunup.okstate.edu and also follow us on YouTube and social media. I'm Lyndall Stout. Have a great week, everyone, and remember, Oklahoma Ag starts at sunup.